And welcome back. I'm still keeping with my double what if, double who wins, or double who would wins until the month's out. And from Burnouter, we have who wins in a fight: Sam, Dean, and Garth. Now, should know, and versus Freddy and Jason. Now, I should know, I have, while me and my girlfriend are on and off with Supernatural, we'll eventually get through all the seasons. I am currently not up to when Garth is introduced. We only just finished season 6, and right now we're watching Grimm actually, which we're enjoying very much. But that being said, I do know who Garth is and what he is. So I can still do Garth. And we've done Sam and Dean at least once before. Actually, yeah, we've only done them once. I've done John once. And I've done Sam and Dean in other videos, like the Pokemon, the Legend Core videos, Zanpakuto, so forth. Haven't used them very often in Death Bell. And I love, like, I had not watched Supernatural until my girlfriend suggested we watch it. Fell in love with it. It's like Doctor Who. I'd never watched Doctor Who until my girl was like, let's watch Doctor Who. I'm like, loved it. Loved Doctor Who, loved Supernatural. Like, fell in love with it. So, Sam, Dean, and Garth are hunters. And that basically means that they're not a special breed of human, but a special, let's call it class of human. If we're using D&D terms, that is their profession. What is your profession? Spartans? What is your profession? Hunters? What is your profession? That's what they do. Now, unfortunately, that means that they don't get paid for what they do. They actually, to survive, have to run a lot of scams, credit card fraud, all that. They have no fixed address. They travel all over the world, except for certain individuals. Like Bobby has a fixed address because he's kind of like the. What's the best way to call Bob? Like, what's the best character comparison for Bobby? Because he's a hunter also, but he does live. He owns a junk shop, all that. Not junk shop, like a auto repair place. Yeah, what would be the good comparison? He's their man in the chair, more or less. And I do know Bobby doesn't make it after a certain amount of seasons. Spoilers, if you haven't watched Supernatural, it's only been off the air now for about, actually, how long has Supernatural been on? Actually, compared to other series that have gone off the air, it really isn't that long for Supernatural. I want to say it's like been 6 years is Supernatural. Supernatural. Okay, when did it go off the air? And they're talking apparently about bringing back like a season revival, apparently. Let's see, why not 2020? It hasn't even been 6 years. It's been about 5 years now. It'll be 5 years this year. So it's actually only been off the air recently. We did have that prequel series, I think the Winchesters it is, or something like that, and that didn't really, unfortunately, go anywhere. So I think they are talking about doing like a season-long revival, which is cool. But yeah, so Bobby leaves the picture for a while, and so Garth, who was another hunter who was very close to Bobby, aids and kind of becomes their new Bobby. As hunters, they are very well versed in, like, the lore of a lot of the supernatural threats they face, be it creatures like werewolves, skinwalkers. They've fought dragons before, at least a dragon. Ghost spirits, demons, you name it. But that comes with a catch. If they're up against something they're not familiar with, or they have not, if they haven't encountered something ever before, they do need to know how to kill something. Like they need like Bobby's help, or in this case Garth's help. They need to do research on how to kill it. But that being said, once they face something for the first time, they usually remember how to kill something. Now that can involve salt. It can involve, like blessed objects, certain materials that are toxic to the creature. They know they have weapons that kill angels. They know how to take on demons. They even ultimately tricked God in the end to what's the best way to put it? To give up, basically lose his power and have all his power stripped. Now this came with a big catch. God was pulling the strings. Again, spoilers for a series that's been off the air for 5 years. God was pulling the strings the whole time, as it turns out, to give them plot armor to always be able to come back. When God was out of commission or taken out of the equation, and the new God was in place, that was no longer in effect. So they are, or as we would have them, vulnerable to death, and just stay dead. Should also note that Sam at one point did have telekinetic powers, demonic abilities, but he's long since lost them. Dean once had the mark of Cain on him. He does not. We will not be using that. And Garth is a werewolf. And he's an alpha werewolf, actually. He's more resistant to the werewolf weaknesses. So I don't believe he can turn into a werewolf at will, but he is a werewolf. Now, that being said, Freddy and Jason are two very opposite type of individual from them they're facing. Both ultimately are supernatural in their threat. Jason is more or less a remnant. He is a revived corpse at this point, and he is very hard to put down. He has an insane regenerative capability. He is physically brick shit house compared to the boys. Even where Garth in werewolf form would not be a match for Jason physically. And he can tank a lot of hits and just keep coming. And normally he wields a machete, but he can make use of anything to kill someone. But he is simple. I think that's the best way to put Jason. He's not stupid. In fact, he's actually got good survival instincts when he was still alive. He knew how to live on his own in the woods. So that's not stupidity. That's not. But he is simple. There is a mental stunt. Not a mental stunt, but he was stunted mentally as a kid. He was different. He was deformed. It was clear that psychologically he was a little not disabled. That's not the right term. He had learning disabilities of some kind. He just had a more simple mindset. So he isn't the Bryce. He could be outthought and strategized. Freddy is a problematic character for the boys if he's in the dream world. If he's in the real world, frankly, he could just be shot in the face, blown up, whatever they gotta do. They could beat Freddy in the real world, no problem. He's really nothing more than anything else they've ever fought before in terms of that physically. But the issue with him is if he's in the dream world and they got to fight him and Jason on two different grounds, that is a problem. Because as long as they're asleep, and they do have to sleep, he can find them, F them up, kill them. Especially if they don't have protection from a god or cast or anything like that. But there is a catch-22 in this. First off, there's no guarantee he kills them first time they're sleeping. No, in fact, normally that's not what happens. Normally someone will wake up from the dream and they're like, what the hell's going on here? And ironically, Dream Freddy is a being that they would be more inclined to be able to handle because he falls within the parameters of the show in terms of individual creatures that they would have to do research on. When they're looking for spirits, ghosts that are wreaking havoc, poltergeists, they have to look at the history of who died, how they died. If they hear the song 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, Freddy, all that, they would do research about Freddy Krueger and Elm Street and talk about, figure out dream demons, maybe? Dream demons, all right. So really, they got to figure out, just pull him out of the dream. And then once he's out of the dream, it's like salt the bones, find the body, burn, like that already happened. But in this world, let's just assume they did. We got to find the bones, bring them into the real world, whatever, find it, burn it, all that. Oh God, sorry. My new job is deals with dogs, so I've got a lot of excess hair and dander in my face. So if you see me, I'm wiping my eyes a little bit here. So with that being said, Freddy's the easier one to deal with. Now, if they're paired up and somehow working together, that's going to be a problem. Because Freddy would be the easy one to focus on, sure, except for the fact that while he's easier to put down, that still leaves Jason coming after him. Now, it is 3-on-2, which means you can have two people focusing on Jason and a third person focusing on Freddy. Freddy, again, the easier one to take down in the real world. He would be problematic until he's brought into the real world, but I think ultimately they would figure that out. They've dealt with worse than Freddy, I believe. By a long mile, they've dealt with worse than Freddy. Jason, though, is just kind of physically, take angels out of the equation, there really isn't much in the supernatural universe that is quite comparable physically to Jason. Maybe you could make an argument something like a Wendigo could do it, or could be that. I do believe there is a episode involving a golem, a self-made human, artificial human. But even then, I don't think the golem, we've seen in both comics and the movies, Jason can flip cars without difficulty. He can literally huck I think it was Uber Jason who did this himself. He hucked a tree like it was and I mean a huge ass tree like it was nothing. Jason's strength is just something they're not used to, so they do not want to be getting close range with him if they can help it. Unfortunately, he can also tank just basic gunfire too. Silver, Salt, they quickly realize, oh, that's not going to work. But Jason is still supernatural in nature. He's more or less a revenant. So the question is if he's more or less a revenant type zombie, and revenants do exist in supernatural. Now, great, it's not truly a revenant. He's kind of his own thing, admittedly. But if, and I hate when this happens. Sorry, I had a video that I was watching pause and it just moved on to a different, whatever. Anyway, if he is something at least akin to a revenant, whatever the method to deal with a revenant would be the method to deal with Jason Voorhees. Now, granted, we do know that there is also the curse of the Voorhees family, that you need a special blade to kill him. And if that were to be the case here, at best they could maybe bind him with some spells, or at least trap him. Like, they'd have to, like, maybe bury him in concrete or something like that and just hope to keep him down until that damn thing hardens. That would actually probably be the best bet. They'd have to lure him somewhere. So Freddy would be the easier one to take out. Jason is really just too much of a brick shithouse to take down with any physical firearms until they were able to find the special dagger. And so, really, they'd probably lure him to a construction site. That would probably be or like metallurgy or something like that. And really, they would just kind of like trick him into the like a big vat of concrete. And honestly, they'd probably fill it up first, and then and even for Jason, the concrete would be way too thick for him to really get out of, so they'd have to wait till it hardens. Now, that being said, if Jason sinks to the bottom, and if he is capable of walking through that thick-ass concrete, there is a chance that if he gets to the edges, he could maybe punch his way out. But usually the edges of, like, concrete, like, molds, let me see here, I'm just going to get, like, I'm trying to remember, like, the last time I saw one in the film, like, in Predator, concrete molds. Molds. All right, molds. Let me see here. What, and not like just a standard like pool to not search. Well, search. I don't want search. I want like images. Image. Here we go. Let me just getting some basic one. I'm looking for like a big one, like a big construction side. Construction molds. That's what I want. Construction molds. There we go. I want the big one. Okay, yeah, I'm now getting some big. I'm not seeing some images of like really big containers, mold houses for. I mean, the plastic but stuff. Okay, these things are thick, and he's not going to be able to get them a lot of momentum because he's still. It's like punching. If you ever tried to throw a punch in water, you have resistance. Now trying to do it concrete. Ugh. So I wouldn't say it's impossible, but if they lure him into a thing of concrete and let it harden, he's done. Like maybe they like undo the mold or something, and then like they see and they like he's actually gotten his face out and he's just it's like, okay, buddy, we're just gonna find that and they cut him out of there, but he's still like in this giant cinder block, so he can't get out of there. So they have to, and then they maybe just bury him or just throw him back into a lake or something like that. So do I think the boys would struggle with at least part of this team? Oh, absolutely. And arguably they'd struggle with Freddy for a while too. But again, just got to pull Freddy out into the real world and take care of him because he's really no more different than a normal, like, minor humanoid supernatural entity. Jason's the real problem in this fight for them. And it's very possible one of them could either bite her or get seriously injured trying to just keep Jason in check. Either way, though, I do think the boys could still handle it. It's just a matter of using their wits, not their brawn. Which sometimes you can use your brawn against these guys. Like doppelgangers, you can use your brawn against. Usually, most like humanoid-esque supernatural creatures aren't that much stronger than a human, actually. Hell, vampires in their world are physically stronger than you, just not by that much. So, I don't think it'd be that big of an issue for them to take on. Again, Jason's the real big problem. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. I got the gang, the Garth, Sam, Dean, and Garth, but that's my opinion. And my opinion's not the one and all opinion. So let me know what you think. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.